Hello, this is Robert Cooper. I'm learning Elgg content management system. It's very easy to use and I highly recommend it. It's easier than Joomla and WordPress both. I used Joomla for 20 years from version 1.5 to version 5, and every year it just got more complicated. This program is not complicated. The options they have will allow you to create most any system, from classifieds, market basically, social media, just a group system with blogs, with pages. It's awesome. So, all right, I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done. I set up this site and that one, and here's a classified one, and it shows, unlike on a market, it shows, has videos, does photos. This program is awesome. So this is just my, there's a couple key things to not get too technical about it. It doesn't like to run under a root that has either Joomla or Elgg installed. So what I did, this is the directory, here's the directory. It's in the root of my lowescamp.com website. Everything else is under the root. Now this one, if you look at the source code, it's only HTML, a table, links, images, that's all it is. So all the Joomla, which is only a couple I do for testing, and all the Elgg 5 and 6 are below the HTML root. Less headache doing it that way. I won't go too much into the hosting I got now. It's through Godaddy, but Godaddy offers something that worked out really well for this, for me to be able to host the Elgg 6 and 5 if I want to on subdomains, and I could have several of these windows open of these Elgg. Let's do it to remember the password. Minimize the actual, like, go down like this, and I can have several of these open, and once I log in I just go back and forth between the two. So I'm trying to get used to it all, but basically that's what I do. So this system is awesome. This is it right here. This page here, I covered another video. This page is actually what they call the front page demo. And let me log in and I'll show you a little bit about that, because I think it's important. So I'll log in. Actually, I am logged in already. I'll go to the administrator and I'll go to plugins. Actually, I'm wrong one. Go to plugins, and this is where the magic is. This is all the options it adds to it. Right? Don't worry about this error. That was from the installation. I gotta get that off there, but it's not hurting anything because it's not activated. The magic are in the plugins. This one here allows insertion of iframe embedded videos, embedded photos, and you can't do that without that plugin right there. So these are the plugins right here. Here's the front page demo I was mentioning, and what was key today that I learned, where it says section, if I took section out and the system automatically puts a P for paragraph tag, this whole thing goes away. This is gone. So I found out that putting section in here or div and putting the code, you can see right here, that's an iframe, right? And that's embedded code to YouTube. Can't do it without two things. You have to have that section or div, and you have to have this Elgg hooks program or plugin, okay? And I gotta take that P out because it don't work, but Optic does. So basically what this does is this hooks program or plugin does not allow these particular elements to be used within the CK Editor 5 text editor, or HTML WYSIWYG editor that we looked at where the front page code was. So, okay, let's look at where those plugins come from at the elgg.org website. So you click on plugins, and they have a very intuitive search. So you can go here and do it by categories. You can set your version, whether you're using 5.1 or 6.2 or 6.0, because some programs, they only use certain versions of the software. You can just put in a keyword. So if I put in a keyword and I type in group, it'll bring up everything that's related to groups. And these are kind of technical. A lot of these are older though. You can see 1699 days. So that doesn't tell you what the version is. You have to look to see but if you set the version here, like if I only wanted version 6.2 for group, and I go like this, those are the only things that'll work for 6.2. And I've tried this bar tools, I didn't like it. I'm gonna have to try that again. So this is where you get basically get the plugins, and there's a lot of them. Just for the group, all versions is 264, and I think there's like thousands of plugins, right? You can download the source from here. GoDaddy, HostGator, I believe, they both have Elgg is available through their software installer, and it won't be version 6.22. It'll probably be 6.0. There's bugs in those, but you do it that way. I recommend that if you learn how to do it setting up your domain in cPanel, which will create the required folder or directory. In GoDaddy, it's under the public HTML folder. On HostGator, the subdomains or add-on domains are above the public HTML folder, and that's kind of confusing. I had to learn that a little bit too. So once you do that, there is a difference between each hosting company too. Very few hosting companies will give you access to set the DNS host name servers, generate them basically. GoDaddy, they're actually different name servers. HostGator uses this exact same name servers for every add-on domain or every subdomain that you create. On GoDaddy, they're kind of generated on the fly. You'll have different name servers. Now those name servers are used to connect a remotely purchased domain that's outside of GoDaddy or outside of HostGator, and you go to the outside registry that has the domain where you bought it, and then you'll do a name server adjustment. You put in the GoDaddy or HostGator name servers, and that will forward, not in the sense of forwarding just the domain, but it'll actually allow you to host that domain that's at the registry, whether it's GoDaddy or HostGator. It'll allow you to host it on either HostGator or GoDaddy. I highly recommend GoDaddy, and if you need any help with this, with GoDaddy, I'll be more than happy to help you on it. I've learned a couple things on that, and I'll cover that in another video as far as how to set up how to do the actual name servers from the DNH host system, how to put those name servers in a registry. We'll use Network Solution or netfirms.com because I have both of those, and how to set up the domain in the cPanel and where they're located in GoDaddy, and then I'll later do another video on HostGator because I have that account still too. It is kind of complicated, but it's not. Anyone that can install an operating system can do this. You just need to have the key procedures and the differences. One word of caution though is if you do go with GoDaddy and you happen to get into doing this, do not let tech support talk you into using IPs for all the subdomains for add-on domains. Now, an add-on domain is basically that's the one you host from another registry, and you set up the DNS hosting. That's an add-on domain, right? And that add-on domain is basically a subdomain of the primary host. That's confusing, but I can explain that more to anyone needs any help. Tech support will want to tell you, yeah, go ahead and set up IPs for all the settings for the add-on domains, and that's not true. You only set up what they call the A record with an IP address. Everything else that gets set up for that add-on domain uses what they call a CNAME, and it has to the left, and I'll show you this in another video, it has a subdomain name in front of the add-on domain name. So if you got like domain.com and that's an add-on domain, before that you're going to have www, you're going to have mail.domain.com, you're going to have webmail.domain.com. All those have to have what they call a CNAME, which uses the domain, the add-on domain .com, so it'd be the domain.com. It doesn't use an IP address, so you don't use an IP address other than the A record for add-on domains at GoDaddy. This way, if you have to reset that cPanel, you only have to set up one thing for IPs, and everything else will be okay, because you can actually back up these DNH host settings into a file. But if you set all IPs for all the configuration and the cPanel or your hosting server IP changes, you have to redo all that. So I'll cover that in another video. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But to get back with LGG, I wish I had found this program 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. But it's very, very advanced now. 5 and 6 have really pushed the envelope. I can tell you from my own personal experience of trying to search for social media content management systems for the last couple of years, ELGG never came out under Google, not once. I found this just by chance a month ago, and I'm hooked. This is the only CMS program I'm going to use for the rest of my life. For now, I'm sure it's going to stay that way. The developers are awesome. They're very helpful. The code's kind of locked down, but that's like anything, different systems. When they lock down code like that, you don't have the bugs. You don't have, I'll give you an example. With Joomla, you have thousands of different add-ons, plugins, modules, templates from hundreds of different developers and companies, right? These are all from one foundation, a nonprofit foundation. All the plugins are through them, right? They're add-ons. You know, you can find them on some of them on GitHub, where it's not a official supported plugin, but there's not many of them. That's not the case with WordPress and Joomla. So what happens is you get all these different companies that didn't go out of business, their old versions, things break. That's not going to happen with this software. So I guess that's enough for today, and feel free to make comments down below. Thank you.